The vast expanse of space stretched out beyond the reinforced windows of interstellar medical station Helios. Tommy Nguyen stood gazing at the stars, his reflection superimposed on the darkness of space. Behind him, the hustle and bustle of the medical bay continued unabated, a symphony of beeping machines, soft footfalls, and the occasional barked order in languages both human and distinctly not. Tommy had been stationed on Helios for just over 3 years now. As one of the few human doctors in this advanced interspecies medical facility, he often felt like a relic among the sleek, technologically superior Kithrin medical staff. The Kithrins, tall beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their moods, were renowned throughout the known galaxy for their medical prowess. Their 6-fingered hands could perform surgeries with precision that no human could match, and their understanding of xenobiology far surpassed that of Earth's medical community. Yet Tommy had earned his place here. What he lacked in technological advantage, he made up for with creativity, intuition, and a stubbornness that his Kithrin colleagues found both frustrating and occasionally useful. His specialization in emergency medicine and trauma care had proven valuable in situations where textbook approaches failed. "Dr. Nguyen," a melodic voice called from behind him. "The rescue team is returning with survivors from the Corax vessel. Prepare for incoming casualties." Tommy turned to face Dr. Lyra, whose skin had taken on the deep blue hue of professional focus. "How many survivors?" he asked, already moving toward the preparation area. "3, Lyra replied, her long fingers dancing across a holographic display. 2 with minor injuries, 1 critical. The critical patient has suffered extensive damage to their primary circulatory system and what appears to be severe cellular degradation from radiation exposure." Tommy nodded, mentally reviewing what he knew about Corax physiology. Not much, unfortunately. The Corax were a relatively unknown species from a distant sector, traders who kept mostly to themselves. Their encounters with the medical station had been limited to routine vaccinations and minor treatments. A critical case would be challenging. "I've assigned the minor cases to Drs. Zarn and Keyleth," Lyra continued. "You and I will handle the critical patient." Tommy raised an eyebrow. Being paired with Lyra was unusual. She was the chief medical officer of Helios and rarely took direct medical cases anymore, preferring to supervise and manage the facility. Her decision to personally involve herself spoke volumes about the severity and unusual nature of the situation. "The patient must be important," Tommy observed. Lyra's skin flickered briefly to a yellowish hue, a sign of concern. "The Corax vessel was a diplomatic transport. The critically injured patient is Ambassador Thrix, en route to the Galactic Council Summit." Tommy let out a low whistle. A diplomatic incident in the making. No wonder Lyra was personally involved. The preparation area hummed with activity as medical staff readied equipment and medication. Tommy checked the bioregulators and oxygen settings, adjusting them to what little data they had on Corax physiology. Lyra reviewed the scanner calibrations, her movements precise and efficient. A chime sounded throughout the medical bay, indicating the arrival of the rescue shuttle. Minutes later, the doors slid open, and the trauma team rushed in with the patients. 2 Corax with minor injuries were quickly directed to separate treatment rooms, while the third, Ambassador Thrix, was hurried into the main trauma bay. Tommy's first thought upon seeing the ambassador was that the situation was even worse than he'd been led to believe. The Corax's normally lustrous green exoskeleton had turned a sickly yellow-brown. Deep cracks ran across the surface, revealing the soft tissue beneath. What Tommy assumed was blood, a thick amber fluid, seeped from multiple wounds. Most concerning was the massive injury to the ambassador's thoracic region, where the exoskeleton had been completely shattered, exposing the complex organs beneath. Life signs? Lyra demanded, her skin now a deep purple of intense concentration. Weak but present, responded a Kithrin technician. Primary heart function at 32%. Secondary hearts failing. Cellular degradation continuing at an accelerated rate. Tommy moved to the ambassador's side, scanner in hand. The readings confirmed what his eyes told him. The ambassador was dying. And quickly. The radiation from whatever had attacked their vessel had penetrated the Corax's exoskeleton and was systematically destroying cells throughout the body. Begin full-spectrum anti-radiation protocol, Lyra ordered. Prepare synthetic cellular stabilizers and exoskeletal regeneration matrix. The medical team moved with practiced efficiency, administering treatments and connecting the ambassador to the advanced life support systems. Tommy worked alongside them, monitoring vital signs and assisting with the placement of regenerative patches over the exposed tissues. Hours passed in a blur of activity. Despite their best efforts, the ambassador's condition continued to deteriorate. The synthetic stabilizers that should have halted the cellular degradation were proving ineffective. The regeneration matrix, designed to help rebuild damaged tissues, wasn't adhering properly to the Corax physiology. We're losing him, Tommy said grimly, watching as the vital signs continued their slow decline. Lyra's skin had faded to a pale blue, a sign of deep concern. I don't understand. The treatments should be working. The cellular stabilizers are designed to be compatible with all known carbon-based life forms. Clearly there's something about Corax physiology we don't understand, Tommy replied. He studied the medical readouts more closely, noting the unusual patterns in the ambassador's cellular structure. Their cells are breaking down differently than we expected. It's almost as if... He trailed off, a thought forming in his mind. He adjusted the scanner settings, focusing on the molecular level of the degrading cells. The radiation isn't just damaging the cells, it's altering their fundamental structure. The stabilizers can't work because they don't recognize the altered cells as viable. Dr. Zarn, who had finished treating his patient and joined them, leaned over to examine the readings. His skin rippled with the orange hue of intellectual curiosity. Fascinating. It's as if the radiation has created a new form of cellular decay we haven't encountered before. Can we modify the stabilizers? Lyra asked. Zarn's skin shifted to a doubtful gray. Not quickly enough. The decay is spreading too rapidly. At this rate, the ambassador has perhaps 2 hours before complete systemic failure. The medical bay fell silent as the implications sank in. A diplomatic incident would be the least of their concerns if the ambassador died. The fragile peace between several sectors could be jeopardized. We need to try something else, Tommy insisted. If our advanced treatments aren't working, maybe we need to consider alternatives. Lyra's skin flickered with skepticism. What alternatives? We've utilized the most advanced medical technology in the known galaxy. Tommy ran a hand through his hair, a habit from his Earth days that he'd never managed to break. That's just it. Maybe technology isn't the answer here. The Kithrin doctors exchanged glances, their skins shifting through various shades of confusion and doubt. I have access to the Earth medical database. Tommy continued. Our medicines might be considered primitive by your standards, but they work on different principles. Maybe that's what we need here. Something completely different. Earth medicines? Zarn's skin took on the yellow-green hue of disbelief. Chemicals and compounds that haven't been used in serious medical practice for centuries? Exactly. Tommy nodded emphatically. The very fact that they're different might be what we need. The ambassador's cells aren't responding to your advanced treatments. So let's try something his body won't expect. Lyra studied Tommy for a long moment, her skin shifting slowly from doubtful gray to the contemplative purple of consideration. What do you propose? Tommy turned to the medical console and began searching through the Earth database he'd insisted on having installed when he first arrived at Helios. Most of his Kithaeron colleagues had viewed it as a nostalgic indulgence, but he'd always maintained that diversity in medical approaches could be valuable. Now, he desperately hoped he'd been right. He focused his search on treatments for radiation poisoning and cellular regeneration, scrolling through options with increasing frustration. Most Earth treatments for severe radiation exposure were supportive at best, designed to keep the patient alive while their body attempted to heal itself. Hardly useful in this situation where time was of the essence. Then a reference caught his eye, an obscure research paper from the mid-21st century about a plant native to the Amazon rainforest. The plant, Croton lechleri, produced a red sap known locally as dragon's blood that had remarkable healing properties. According to the paper, the sap contained compounds that could accelerate cellular regeneration and provide protection against radiation damage at the molecular level. "I might have something," Tommy said, excitement creeping into his voice. "A plant-based treatment from Earth that affects cellular regeneration through a completely different pathway than our synthetic treatments." "A plant?" Zarn's skin flushed an incredulous orange. "You want to treat a critical diplomatic patient with vegetation?" Tommy ignored the skepticism. "Computer, do we have any samples of Croton lechleri in the Xenobotanical repository?" The station's AI responded promptly. "Negative, Dr. Nguyen. However, there are 3 specimens of Croton lechleri being cultivated in Biodome 7 as part of the Earth Heritage Preservation Project." Tommy's heart leaped. "Perfect. I need immediate access to Biodome 7. Lyra's skin had settled into a deep blue of serious consideration. "Dr. Nguyen, I understand your desire to explore alternatives, but treating the ambassador with an untested Earth plant seems reckless." "More reckless than letting him die?" Tommy challenged. "Our current treatments aren't working. The ambassador has less than 2 hours. What do we have to lose?" A tense silence fell over the trauma bay, broken only by the ominous beeping of the biomonitors tracking the ambassador's failing systems. Finally, Lyra's skin shifted to the resolute purple of decision. "Go to Biodome 7. Bring back your plant. But understand this. If the ambassador's condition worsens because of your treatment, the consequences will be severe." Tommy nodded grimly. Understood. He rushed from the medical bay, taking the transport tube to Biodome 7. The Biodome was a massive enclosure designed to replicate Earth's various ecosystems as part of an initiative to preserve the biological heritage of all member species in the Galactic Alliance. The Amazon section was warm and humid, filled with the rich scent of soil and vegetation that instantly transported Tommy back to his training rotations in Brazil. With the help of the Biodome's caretaker, an elderly human botanist named Dr. Maria Santos, Tommy quickly located the Croton lechleri trees. They were slender, with large, heart-shaped leaves. And when he made a small incision in the bark, a thick red sap began to ooze out, the dragon's blood he sought. "What do you need this for?" Dr. Santos asked, her curiosity evident as she helped collect the sap in a sterile container. "A last-ditch effort to save an ambassador," Tommy replied tersely, watching the viscous liquid slowly fill the container. "Our advanced treatments are failing, and sometimes the old ways are the best ways." Dr. Santos nodded sagely. "Nature had billions of years to perfect its chemistry before we started tinkering with it in labs. There's wisdom in those ancient solutions." With the container full, Tommy thanked the botanist and rushed back to the medical bay. Upon his return, he found the situation had deteriorated further. The ambassador's life signs were now critically low, and a grim atmosphere had settled over the medical team. "His cellular degradation has accelerated," Lyra reported, her skin now the pale blue of imminent failure. We've tried adjusting the stabilizers, but nothing is working. Tommy approached the ambassador, the container of red sap in his hands. I need to apply this directly to the exposed tissue. It works best on direct contact with damaged cells. Zarn, who had remained to assist, looked skeptical. That substance appears highly organic and potentially contaminated. Shouldn't we at least sterilize it? No, Tommy said firmly. The active compounds are delicate. Sterilization might destroy them. Besides, this plant evolved to prevent infection. The sap naturally contains antimicrobial properties. Lyra studied Tommy's face, then nodded. Proceed. Dr. Nguyen, as you said, we have nothing to lose at this point. With careful movements, Tommy began applying the thick red sap to the ambassador's exposed tissues, focusing on the areas showing the worst degradation. The sap adhered well to the damaged tissue, forming a glossy, protective layer. Now we wait, Tommy said, stepping back to watch the biomonitors. The compounds need time to be absorbed and take effect. The minutes ticked by in tense silence. Tommy found himself holding his breath, his eyes fixed on the readings that continued to show declining life signs. Had he made a terrible mistake? Was this just a desperate, foolish attempt that would hasten the ambassador's death? Then, almost imperceptibly at first, the readings began to change. The rate of cellular degradation slowed. Then, to everyone's astonishment, it stopped altogether. The degradation has halted, Zarn reported, his skin flushing with the bright orange of surprise. And there are signs of cellular regeneration beginning in the treated areas. Tommy leaned in closer, hardly daring to believe it. But the readings were clear. The ambassador's cells were stabilizing, and new, healthy cells were beginning to form. Impossible, Lyra whispered, her skin shifting to a vibrant purple of amazement. The damage was too extensive for natural regeneration. Not impossible, Tommy replied, relief washing over him. Just different. The compounds in the sap are triggering the Corax's own healing mechanisms in a way our synthetic treatments couldn't. Over the next hour, they watched in astonishment as the ambassador's condition steadily improved. The exposed tissues began to knit together, and the cracks in the exoskeleton started to seal. Even the sickly color was gradually returning to the normal lustrous green. His life signs are stabilizing, Lyra confirmed, her skin now glowing with the bright blue of success. Primary heart function is up to 58% and climbing. Secondary hearts are reactivating. The medical team worked tirelessly, applying more of the red sap as needed and supporting the ambassador's recovery with careful monitoring and supportive care. By the time the station's day cycle had completed one full rotation, Ambassador Thrix was stable enough to be moved from the trauma bay to a recovery suite. As they transferred the ambassador, Tommy noticed something extraordinary. Where the red sap had been applied, the new exoskeleton forming was stronger and more vibrant than the undamaged portions. The cells hadn't just regenerated, they had been enhanced. I've never seen anything like this, Zarn admitted, his skin the deep orange of scientific fascination. The cellular regeneration isn't just replacing damaged tissue, it's improving it. Tommy nodded, equally fascinated. Some earth plants don't just heal damage. They trigger the body to build back better than before. It's an evolutionary advantage, turning injury into opportunity for improvement. Lyra, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. I believe we have witnessed something significant today, something that goes beyond saving one life. Her skin had taken on a rare gold hue that Tommy had never seen before. Perhaps there is more to Earth medicine than we Kitherans have acknowledged. The admission, coming from the chief medical officer, was remarkable. Kithrans were not known for admitting the limitations of their knowledge or the value of what they considered primitive approaches. "I think there's a lesson here for all of us," Tommy replied carefully. "Advanced technology is incredible, but sometimes the solutions nature developed over billions of years of evolution are just as powerful, if not more so." Lyra considered this, then nodded. "I would like to learn more about these Earth treatments. Perhaps we could establish a formal research initiative to study potential applications in our medical protocols." Tommy couldn't help the smile that spread across his face. "I think that's an excellent idea. Dr. Lyra." Word of the ambassador's miraculous recovery spread quickly through Helios Station and beyond. What could have been a diplomatic disaster had instead become a celebration of interspecies cooperation and the unexpected value of Earth's contribution to galactic medicine. 2 days later, Ambassador Thrix regained consciousness. Tommy was present when the Corax opened his compound eyes, the facets gleaming with awareness. "Ambassador Thrix," Lyra greeted formally, her skin the respectful deep blue of professional communication. "I am Dr. Lyra, Chief Medical Officer of Helios Station. How are you feeling?" The ambassador's mandibles clicked softly as he assessed his condition. "I am functional. This is unexpected. I was certain my time had come." "You were very close to death," Lyra confirmed. "Your injuries were beyond our standard treatments. Your recovery is due to the unconventional approach of Dr. Nguyen here." The ambassador turned his compound eyes toward Tommy. "A human doctor? Curious. What treatment did you use that succeeded where Kithran medicine failed?" Tommy stepped forward. "A plant from Earth. Ambassador. Its sap contains compounds that triggered your body's natural healing mechanisms in ways our synthetic treatments couldn't." "A plant?" The ambassador's mandibles clicked rapidly in what Tommy recognized as Corax laughter. "I am saved by vegetation? The irony is exquisite. On my world, plants are considered the lowest form of life. Sometimes the greatest wisdom comes from the most unexpected sources," Tommy replied with a smile. "Indeed." The ambassador's voice grew serious. "You have my gratitude, Dr. Nguyen. The Corax do not forget those who aid us. If ever you require the assistance of my people, you need only ask." Tommy nodded in acknowledgement. "I'm just glad you're recovering, Ambassador. It's why I became a doctor, to help people, regardless of their species or origin." After ensuring the ambassador was comfortable and answering his questions about the treatment, Tommy and Lyra left the recovery suite. In the corridor outside, Lyra's skin shifted to a thoughtful purple. "Dr. Nguyen, I owe you an apology," she said. "I dismissed your Earth medicine as primitive and ineffective. I was wrong." Tommy shook his head. "No apology needed, Dr. Lyra. We all have our biases and assumptions. What matters is being willing to reconsider them when evidence suggests we should." "Nevertheless," Lyra insisted, "your willingness to think differently saved a life that our advanced technology could not. That deserves recognition." She paused, her skin shifting through several colors as she organized her thoughts. "I have been authorized by Station Command to establish a new research division focused on integrating traditional healing methods from all member species into our medical protocols. I would like you to lead this initiative." Tommy stared at her in surprise. "Me? Lead a research division?" "Who better?" Lyra asked. "You have demonstrated the value of looking beyond established practices and considering alternatives that others might dismiss. That is precisely the perspective this new division requires." The offer was unexpected, but intriguing. Tommy had always believed in the value of diverse approaches to medicine, drawing from the wisdom of different cultures and species. This would be an opportunity to explore that belief on a galactic scale. "I would be honored," he said finally, "on one condition." "Which is?" "That Dr. Zarn is assigned as co-leader," Tommy said. "His initial skepticism is valuable. We'll need someone to ensure we maintain scientific rigor while exploring new possibilities." Lyra's skin flickered with amusement. "An interesting request, but a wise one. I will arrange it." In the days that followed, Tommy found himself thrust into a new role, one that combined his medical expertise with diplomatic skills he hadn't realized he possessed. Representatives from various species began reaching out, eager to share their traditional healing practices and learn about Earth's contributions to the emerging field of galactic ethnomedicine. The Kithaeron medical staff, initially skeptical, became increasingly interested as more successes were documented. Dr. Zarn, to Tommy's surprise, proved to be an enthusiastic partner, his scientific precision complementing Tommy's more intuitive approach. A month after the ambassador's recovery, Tommy stood once again at the window of Helios Station, gazing at the stars. This time, however, he wasn't alone. Dr. Lyra and Dr. Zarn stood beside him, along with a fully recovered Ambassador Thrix. "The Galactic Council was most impressed by your report." "Dr. Lyra," the ambassador said, his mandibles clicking softly. "They have approved funding for the expansion of your research initiative to all major medical facilities in Alliance space." Lyra's skin glowed with the bright blue of satisfaction. "This is excellent news. Ambassador, with this support, we can accelerate our exploration of complementary healing approaches." "It is the least we could do," the ambassador replied. "Your innovative treatment not only saved my life, but has opened new possibilities for medical care throughout the galaxy." Tommy smiled, remembering the skepticism that had greeted his suggestion to use an Earth plant just a month ago. From last resort to galactic initiative, not bad for a primitive Earth remedy. Dr. Zarn's skin rippled with the orange hue of scientific excitement. "We've only just begun to explore the possibilities. Preliminary analysis suggests that the compounds in your dragon's blood sap could be synthesized and enhanced for use in a wide range of treatments. And that's just one plant from Earth." "Indeed," Lyra agreed. "When we consider the vast biodiversity of all member worlds, the potential for new medical treatments is substantial." Ambassador Thrix turned his compound eyes toward Tommy. "You have initiated a significant change in galactic medicine. Dr. Nguyen, my people have a saying, 'From the smallest seed grows the mightiest forest.' Your earth leaf was that seed." Tommy nodded, touched by the ambassador's words. "Thank you, Ambassador. But I can't take all the credit if Dr. Lyra hadn't been willing to try something unconventional, and if Dr. Zarn hadn't helped monitor and document the effects. We wouldn't be here now." "Precisely." The ambassador clicked. "It was the combination of Earth wisdom, Kithaeron technology, and open minds that created this breakthrough, a fitting symbol of what our alliance can achieve when we truly cooperate." As they continued their discussion, Tommy's thoughts drifted to the path that had brought him here. When he'd first arrived at Helios Station, he'd felt like an outlier, a representative of a medical tradition considered quaint and outdated by his Kithaeron colleagues. Now, he stood at the forefront of a new movement in galactic medicine, one that recognized the value and diversity of approach and respected the wisdom inherent in all healing traditions. The irony wasn't lost on him. It had taken a crisis, a moment when the most advanced technology failed, to demonstrate the value of something as simple as a leaf from Earth. Perhaps that was how progress often worked, not through steady, predictable advancement, but through unexpected challenges that forced new perspectives. "Dr. Nguyen," Lyra said, interrupting his thoughts. "The first conference on integrative galactic medicine is scheduled for next month on Proxima Station. As initiative leader, you'll be expected to deliver the keynote address." Tommy blinked in surprise. "A keynote? I'm not much of a public speaker." "You'll do fine," Zarn assured him, his skin the encouraging yellow of confidence. "Just tell the story of the ambassador and the Earth Leaf. It speaks for itself." "Perhaps," Tommy agreed. "But I think the real story isn't about the leaf itself, but about what it represents, the willingness to consider alternatives, to respect different approaches, and to recognize that sometimes the oldest solutions can address the newest problems." Ambassador Thrix clicked his mandibles in approval. "Wisdom indeed, Dr. Nguyen. That is a message the galaxy needs to hear." As they turned from the window to continue their work, Tommy felt a profound sense of purpose. He had come to Helios Station to practice medicine, to help those in need regardless of species or origin. He had never imagined that a simple plant from Earth would become the catalyst for a galactic medical revolution. Yet here he was, at the center of a new beginning, a bridge between the ancient wisdom of Earth and the advanced technology of the galactic community. It was a responsibility he hadn't sought, but one he now embraced with both humility and determination. For in the end, the lesson of the Earth Leaf was clear. Healing wasn't just about technology or tradition, but about bringing together the best of all worlds to serve the common good. And that was a mission worthy of any doctor, human or otherwise. 6 months later, Tommy stood before a diverse audience in the grand conference hall of the Galactic Medical Academy. Representatives from every member species of the Alliance filled the tiered seating. Their attention focused on the human doctor, who had become something of a legend in medical circles. "Distinguished colleagues," Tommy began, his voice steady despite his nerves. "A year ago, if you had told me I would be standing before you today, speaking about the integration of Earth's traditional medicines into our galactic medical protocols, I would have thought you were suffering from oxygen deprivation." A ripple of laughter moved through the audience. "Yet here we are," Tommy continued, "because of a single case that challenged everything we thought we knew about advanced medical treatment." He recounted the story of Ambassador Thrix, describing the desperate situation and the failure of conventional treatments. As he spoke about the application of the dragon's blood sap and the miraculous recovery that followed, he could see the interest in the eyes of the assembled medical professionals. What we learned from this case wasn't just about the efficacy of a particular earth plant, Tommy explained. It was about the fundamental limitations of our approach to medicine. For too long, we've equated advancement with complexity and sophistication. We've assumed that newer is always better, that technology always trumps tradition. He paused, looking out at the diverse faces before him. Kithrans with their color-shifting skin, Koraks with their compound eyes, and dozens of other species, each with their own unique biology and medical traditions. "But the universe doesn't work that way," he continued. "Evolution doesn't discard solutions that work simply because they're old. In fact, natural selection tends to refine and perfect these solutions over millions of years. The compounds in that earth plant didn't work because they were sophisticated or advanced. They worked because they had been perfected through eons of evolutionary pressure." Dr. Lyra, seated in the front row, her skin the attentive blue of deep focus, nodded in agreement. "In the 6 months since we established the Integrative Galactic Medicine Initiative, we've documented over 300 cases where traditional treatments from various member worlds have succeeded where our standard protocols failed. And in each case, We've gained new insights into the fundamental mechanisms of healing across species. Tommy activated the holographic display, showing a three-dimensional model of a molecule derived from the dragon's blood sap. This compound, which we've named Thrixolide in honor of the ambassador, has now been synthesized and enhanced. Clinical trials show it's effective in treating cellular degradation in 72% of tested species. The audience murmured with interest as he continued the presentation, detailing the other breakthroughs that had emerged from their research. Traditional Kithaeron sound healing, once dismissed as ceremonial, had proven remarkably effective in treating neural disorders in a variety of species. Ancient Korax mandible clicking patterns, originally used in religious rituals, had been found to generate specific frequency patterns that accelerated bone and exoskeleton healing. Each of these discoveries has something in common, Tommy said. They all came from traditions that were considered primitive or outdated by our modern standards. They all worked through mechanisms we hadn't considered, and they all reminded us of a fundamental truth that we had forgotten in our rush toward technological advancement. He paused, making eye contact with various members of the audience. Medicine isn't just about technology, it's about healing. And healing is a complex, multi-dimensional process that can't always be reduced to the latest synthetic compound or the newest surgical technique. Sometimes, healing requires wisdom that has been accumulated over thousands of years of trial and error, observation, and intuition. Dr. Zarn, seated beside Lyra, his skin the bright orange of intellectual engagement, leaned forward as Tommy continued. The Integrative Galactic Medicine Initiative isn't about replacing our advanced treatments with traditional ones. It's about recognizing that true advancement comes from integration, from bringing together the best of all approaches, from all worlds and all traditions, to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Tommy gestured to a small potted plant on the podium beside him, a young Croton lichlari seedling, its leaves vibrant and healthy. This little plant saved Ambassador Thrix's life when our most advanced technology failed, not because it was better than our technology, but because it was different, because it approached the problem from an angle we hadn't considered. He looked up at the audience again. And that's the real lesson here. In a galaxy as vast and diverse as ours, with billions of species evolving on millions of worlds, the potential for different approaches, different solutions, different perspectives is virtually infinite. Our challenge isn't to determine which approach is best, but to understand how all these approaches can work together, complementing and enhancing each other. Ambassador Thrix, who had made a special journey to attend the conference, clicked his mandibles in approval from his seat of honor. In closing, Tommy said, I'd like to propose a new paradigm for galactic medicine, not a hierarchy with certain approaches at the top and others at the bottom, but a network, a web of interconnected knowledge and practice, drawing from the wisdom of all worlds and all traditions. He smiled, looking out at the diverse gathering of medical professionals, because in the end, we all share the same goal: to heal, to alleviate suffering, to preserve life in all its wonderful forms. And to achieve that goal, we need all the wisdom we can get, whether it comes from the most advanced Kithaeron neural scanner or a simple leaf from Earth. The audience rose in a standing ovation, the sound of their approval filling the conference hall. As Tommy stepped back from the podium, he caught sight of Dr. Lyra approaching, her skin glowing with the golden hue he had come to recognize as her expression of profound respect. An excellent address, Dr. Nguyen, she said. You've captured the essence of what we're trying to achieve. Tommy nodded, grateful for her support. It's just the beginning, though. We have so much more to learn, So many more traditions to explore. Indeed, Lyra agreed. And speaking of which, the Arcturian delegation has approached me with information about a traditional fungi-based treatment they believe might be effective for conditions we've struggled to treat with conventional methods. I'd be very interested to hear about it. Tommy replied. Perhaps we could meet with them this afternoon. As they discussed the details, Tommy reflected on the journey that had brought him here, from a single desperate attempt to save one life with a leaf from Earth, to a galactic initiative that was transforming the practice of medicine across the known universe. It was a reminder that even in the vastness of space, with all its wonders and complexities, sometimes the most profound changes began with the simplest actions, like a human doctor, rubbing an earth leaf on a wound that no one else could heal. Later that evening, after the day's conference sessions had concluded, Tommy found himself in one of the Academy's botanical gardens. The garden was a marvel of xenobotanical engineering, maintaining dozens of different environmental zones to accommodate plants from worlds throughout the Alliance. He had sought out the Earth section, a replica of a temperate forest that reminded him of the woods near his childhood home. Sitting on a bench beneath an oak tree, he enjoyed the familiar scents and sounds, a momentary respite from the exotic and sometimes overwhelming stimuli of galactic society. Dr. Nguyen, a voice called, the distinctive clicking undertones identifying the speaker before Tommy turned to look. May I join you? Ambassador Thrix approached along the garden path, his exoskeleton now fully healed and gleaming in the artificial sunlight. Where the dragon's blood had been applied, the green was richer, more vibrant, a permanent reminder of his near-death experience and remarkable recovery. Of course, Ambassador, Tommy replied, gesturing to the space beside him. Though I'm not sure this bench was designed with Korak's anatomy in mind. I can adapt, the ambassador said, carefully arranging his multiple limbs to balance on the human-designed seat. An apt metaphor for our alliance, perhaps, learning to function in spaces not originally designed for us. Tommy smiled at the observation. How are you feeling? Any lingering effects from your injuries? None whatsoever. Thrix clicked. In fact, my physicians tell me that the treated portions of my exoskeleton are stronger and more resistant to damage than before. A most unexpected benefit. Nature is full of surprises, Tommy agreed. We're still analyzing the long-term effects of the treatment on various physiologies. It seems the compounds don't just heal damage, they sometimes trigger adaptive improvements. The ambassador's compound eyes gleamed with interest. Evolution in action, accelerated by intervention. Fascinating. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, listening to the artificial breeze rustling through the leaves above them. I did not come merely to enjoy Earth foliage, Thrix finally said. I wanted to inform you personally that the Galactic Council has unanimously approved the establishment of a galactic ethno-medicine repository on my homeworld, Koraxi Prime. Tommy looked at the ambassador in surprise. That's wonderful news. A central location to document and preserve traditional medical practices from all member worlds would be an invaluable resource. Indeed, Thrix agreed. And the Council has requested that you serve as special advisor to the project, with appropriate accommodations for you to split your time between Helios Station and Koraxi Prime. The offer was unexpected and somewhat overwhelming. Tommy had never imagined his career taking such a turn, from practicing emergency medicine to helping shape the future of galactic healthcare policy. I'm honored, he said finally. Though I have to admit, I'm not sure I'm qualified for such a role. Thrix made a clicking sound that Tommy had learned to interpret as gentle dismissal of an unnecessary concern. You are precisely qualified. Dr. Nguyen, you possess not only medical expertise, but the rare ability to recognize value in approaches others might dismiss. That perspective is exactly what this initiative requires. Tommy considered the ambassador's words, looking up at the oak tree above them. Its leaves rustled softly, a sound that had comforted humans for thousands of years. How many other species had similar connections to the plants of their homeworlds? How many healing traditions had developed from these relationships? When I was a child, Tommy said, my grandmother used to treat my cuts and scrapes with a paste made from plantain leaves, just a common weed that grew in our yard. I remember being amazed that something so ordinary could help me heal. He smiled at the memory. Years later, in medical school, I learned that plantain contains compounds with antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties. Science had confirmed what my grandmother knew through traditional knowledge passed down through generations. This is precisely the kind of connection the repository seeks to document. Thrix said, the bridge between traditional wisdom and scientific understanding. Tommy nodded, his decision made. I would be honored to serve as advisor to the repository. Ambassador, thank you for this opportunity. No, Dr. Nguyen, Thrix replied, his mandibles clicking softly. It is we who thank you. Your earth leaf did more than save one ambassador's life. It has opened a new chapter in galactic medicine, one that honors the wisdom of all worlds. As they continued their conversation, discussing the details of the repository and the future of integrative galactic medicine, Tommy felt a profound sense of rightness. His journey had taken him far from Earth, across the vastness of space, to worlds he had never imagined visiting. Yet in the end, it was something as simple as a leaf from his home planet that had made the greatest impact. Perhaps that was the greatest lesson of all, that no matter how far we travel, no matter how advanced we become, we carry with us the wisdom of our origins. And sometimes, in the most unexpected moments, that ancient wisdom proves to be exactly what we need to face the challenges of the future. 1 year to the day after Ambassador Thrix's miraculous recovery, a formal ceremony was held on Helios Station to inaugurate the newly established Integrative Medicine Wing. The facility, 3 times the size of the original medical bay, featured treatment rooms designed to accommodate the specific needs of various species, laboratories equipped for the study and synthesis of traditional remedies, and a vast xenobotanical garden where medicinal plants from throughout the galaxy were cultivated. Tommy stood beside Dr. Lyra as they welcomed dignitaries from across the Alliance. Her skin glowed with the proud gold reserved for moments of significant achievement. Did you ever imagine we would come this far in just 1 year? She asked quietly, as they watched the diverse crowd mingling in the reception area. Tommy shook his head. Never. When I first suggested using the dragon's blood sap, I was just hoping it might help one patient. I never dreamed it would lead to all this. That is often how the most significant changes begin, Lyra observed. Not with grand plans or visionary strategies, but with one person trying to solve one problem in a new way. Dr. Zarn approached, his skin the bright orange of excitement. The Arcturian fungi therapy we've been testing has shown remarkable results in the latest trials. 87% efficacy in treating neural degradation across 12 different species. That's excellent news, Tommy replied. We should schedule a presentation for the next conference. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Ambassador Thrix, accompanied by several members of the Galactic Council. The ambassador made his way directly to Tommy, his mandibles clicking in greeting. Dr. Nguyen, he said formally, the Council has asked me to convey their deepest appreciation for your contributions to galactic medicine. Your work has not only saved countless lives, but has fostered greater cooperation and understanding between our diverse species. Tommy felt himself flush with embarrassment at the public praise. Thank you, Ambassador. But the credit belongs to many people. Dr. Lyra for being willing to try something unconventional. Dr. Zarn for his rigorous documentation of the results. And countless others who have embraced this new approach to medicine. Modesty is admirable, one of the council members said, a tall, crystalline being whose thoughts were conveyed through patterns of light rather than sound. But leadership must also be recognized. Your willingness to challenge established practices opened the door for others to do the same. The formal portion of the ceremony began, with speeches and presentations detailing the achievements of the past year. Tommy listened with a sense of wonder as speakers from various worlds described how the integration of traditional and advanced medical approaches had transformed healthcare on their planets. When it was his turn to address the gathering, Tommy stepped to the podium with a small box in his hands. "Distinguished guests," he began. "A year ago, a crisis forced us to reconsider our assumptions about medical treatment. What began as a desperate attempt to save one life has grown into a movement that is reshaping galactic medicine." He opened the box, revealing a small, crystal vial containing a viscous red liquid. This is the last of the original dragon's blood sap that saved Ambassador Thrix. We've since synthesized and enhanced the compounds it contains, but I've kept this sample as a reminder of where our journey began. Tommy held up the vial, the red liquid catching the light. This simple substance from an earth plant represents something profound, the recognition that healing wisdom can come from anywhere, from any world, from any tradition. Our challenge is not to rank these approaches in a hierarchy of sophistication, but to bring them together in service of our common goal, the alleviation of suffering throughout the galaxy. He placed the vial in a small alcove that had been prepared in the wall of the reception area, where it would remain as a symbol of the initiative's origins. With this gesture, we honor not just the specific treatment that saved Ambassador Thrix, but the principle it represents, that in the vast diversity of life throughout our galaxy, there lies a corresponding diversity of healing wisdom. Our mission is to gather that wisdom, to study it, to understand it, and to share it for the benefit of all. The ceremony concluded with the formal activation of the new wing systems, the lights coming to life throughout the expanded facility. As the dignitaries toured the new treatment rooms and laboratories, Tommy found a quiet moment to slip away to the Xenobotanical Garden. There, in a place of honor near the entrance, grew a mature Croton Lechlari tree, its leaves vibrant and healthy. Beside it, a small plaque told the story of how a leaf from Earth had saved an ambassador's life and launched a new era in galactic medicine. Tommy stood before the tree, reflecting on the journey of the past year. From a desperate last resort to a galactic initiative, from skepticism to celebration, from isolation to integration, it had been a transformation beyond anything he could have imagined. "Do you speak to all your plants, or just the famous ones?" a voice asked from behind him. Tommy turned to find Dr. Lyra approaching, her skin the relaxed blue of informal conversation. "Just thinking," he replied with a smile, "about how far we've come, and how far we still have to go." Lyra nodded, her gaze moving to the Croton Lechlari tree. "When you first suggested using this plant, I thought you were grasping at straws, a desperate human clinging to outdated methods because he had nothing better to offer." "I was," Tommy admitted with a laugh. "But sometimes desperation leads us to solutions we might otherwise overlook." "A valuable lesson," Lyra agreed. "One that has changed not just our medical practices, but our understanding of what it means to be advanced." They stood in companionable silence for a moment, watching as light filtered through the leaves of the earth tree, casting dappled shadows on the garden path. "The Council has approved your proposal for the Expanded Research Initiative," Lyra said finally. "Full funding for the next 5 years, with satellite facilities on 12 member worlds." Tommy nodded, pleased, but not surprised. The success of their initial work had made the expansion almost inevitable. And the educational component? Also approved, Lyra confirmed. The Galactic Medical Academy will incorporate integrative medicine into its core curriculum, with specific courses on the traditional healing practices of each member species. It was another milestone in their ongoing work, another step toward a future where the healing wisdom of all worlds would be respected and utilized. Tommy felt a sense of satisfaction that went beyond professional accomplishment, a deep-seated conviction that they were moving in the right direction. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "my grandmother would have loved this. She always said that plants had wisdom to share if we were willing to listen." Lyra's skin shifted to a curious purple. "Your grandmother sounds like a wise woman. Perhaps her insights should be included in the Earth section of the repository." Tommy smiled at the thought. "I think she would have liked that." As they turned to rejoin the celebration, Tommy cast one last glance at the Croton Leshleri tree. From a simple leaf to a galactic movement, it was a reminder that even in the vastness of space, with all its wonders and complexities, sometimes the most profound changes began with the simplest actions, like a human doctor, rubbing an earth leaf on a wound that no one else could heal.